Hey guys, ECRG here, and today we're going to talk about a couple things that you should not do if you're new to clinical research. Hey guys, ECRG here, and today we're going to be talking about a few things you should not do if you're new to clinical research. These are things that may oftentimes be overlooked and not really thought about, especially if you're new to the industry or new to the job. Obviously, if you're working an entry level position, you want to take these things into consideration, or just really anybody who's coming into clinical research from a different field may not know a little bit about the culture and some of the pitfalls that you may come across. And these are just here to help you and hopefully help you have a better and more fruitful career in clinical research. So, without further ado, the first one I want to talk about is don't discount an opportunity. A lot of times you're presented with opportunities that you may not realize the value of them until you actually do them. For example, I was new to clinical research and I was presented with the opportunity. Someone didn't want to go to a kickoff meeting. And now I had heard that at kickoff meetings, you have to take minutes for 8 hours if that's your role. If you're in the entry level position there, you have to take minutes for 8 hours. And this kickoff meeting was located in the city I was currently living in, so there would be no travel. Now, that's a great trade-off if you get to travel, because I really like to travel. I love travel. So if I get to travel, then I'll travel anywhere for anything at this point because I'm new to the industry. This would have been the first time I would have been able to travel with the company. But this one was located in the same city as me, so no travel, just would have been a normal day at work. But this time I would have been taking 8 hours of meeting minutes. And if you know anything about me, just go watch the most hated task in clinical research video, and you will know how I feel about meeting minutes. So, with that said, I passed on the opportunity. And, it would have been a good opportunity for a few reasons. One being, in my first few months on the job, brand new to clinical research, not knowing anything, the kickoff meeting is really the time where you get to understand the whole project in its entirety. And I'm a big macro person. I like seeing things from macro before I go into the micro details of things. So that would have been a great learning opportunity to really start my clinical research journey on the right foot. And I got opportunities to go to kickoff meetings later, but to really start with that knowledge and that foundation would have just been amazing for my career at that point. So I passed on the opportunity, and another kickoff meeting didn't come around for many more months after that. But everything ended up being okay. But what I learned at the kickoff meetings I did go to was, wow, there are really some key stakeholders in the industry that go to these meetings. You got executives, you got executive directors, you've got all kinds of people that are there that you get to interact with, that you get to trade business cards with, that you get to have interesting and enlightening conversations about. And you know how important networking is. So you really get an opportunity at these kickoff meetings to network with some great people that can help you even land bigger and better opportunities. Not to mention there are executives from your own company there, so it looks good, especially if you're brand new to the industry, that you're helping out and digging in, early on in the beginning of your career. So it's really just a win-win all around. Even though you aren't getting to travel, there are a whole bunch of other positives from going to a kickoff meeting as well. Obviously, the big negative is you have to take meeting minutes for 8 hours, but I'd still say the pros far outweigh the cons of that. And so that really just comes back to say, don't discount an opportunity. I really wish I had gone to that kickoff meeting because it would have been awesome. And I was just really kind of scared and annoyed with meeting minutes at that time. And, I passed on the opportunity. But in hindsight, I would have gone back and taken that opportunity and, used it and did the best I could with it. So that's number one. Don't discount an opportunity. And then the second one I have is, when you're new to the industry, don't be too picky about which studies you're placed on in the beginning. And that's because you're new, you have no experience. Get your experience first. You can always go back later and get asked to put on different studies after you have some more experience. because people like working with experienced people because things go by quicker. You don't have to troubleshoot things. There's not as many errors. You know what to do. You're already a contributing member of the team. So, if you get placed on, oncology or some CNS studies, do that. But you say you're really interested in like some kidney studies or something, we'll do that, and then go back and do the kidney studies, when you at your next opportunity. Or if you're really interested in like GI studies and like infectious disease, you get placed on those first, but you really want to do oncology studies. Well, get that experience first, and then you can move over to oncology a lot easier once you have experience already. So I would say don't be too picky about which studies you're placed on. Just get your experience first, and then you can always be picky later. So the third thing that is very, very important that you should not do in clinical research, and this is very important for clinical research for a couple of reasons. So the third thing is, don't assume everyone is like you. And this has multiple layers to it, because one, clinical research is a very global industry. For example, when I was first started, I worked with people from all over the world. You cannot assume people are just like you. You cannot assume people work like you. You cannot assume like people talk like you. Obviously, everyone you talk with knows English, because that's like the language of clinical research. But you have to take into account that they may not know words and phrases you may use. If you're using some kind of slang phrases, they may not understand. And then you have to also understand that their translation of what you're saying, it might be different than how you're saying it. So you have to be careful with how you say things so that it can be interpreted in the best and most thoughtful way. So don't assume everyone is like you. And it's hard to keep that in mind, because the people I worked with speak fluent English. Like, you just would not be able to know the difference other than the accent. Their English is flawless. But of course, there can be some cultural differences there, and you don't want to offend anybody unnecessarily. So just keep that in mind. You are working in a global space, probably going to be placed on global studies, and you're going to be working with different people from all over the place. And that's even true if you're just based in the USA, working with people that are out on the West Coast. If you're on the East Coast, or vice versa, you've got time differences there that need to be accounted for. So there's a lot to be accounted for in clinical research, just based on location. And then keeping that in mind, you've got to be flexible, because you're going to be working with different people. You're going to be working with different work styles, and just everything that comes into that. And so you got to be flexible too. And that you just cannot assume everyone is like you. You've got to be able to be flexible and understand the differences and the nuances, and understand how people work together. And it's really a great learning opportunity to be in clinical research, just because everybody is so different and works differently, and you get a really good understanding of how to work well in teams and with different people. And I'd say some of the best things that prepared me for that, because I felt like I was fairly well prepared for it. Some of the best things that prepared me for it was any type of study abroad opportunities, any type of camps or internships that focused on diversity or something like that, and bringing people together of all types of ethnic groups, genders, and sexual orientations. Just get you used to working with people that are way different than you and have a whole different set of beliefs than you and whole different working styles. And then another thing is obviously volunteer work, volunteering with people from all over the world, all over the country, all different backgrounds as well. So any type of exposure you can have to that is really going to do wonders for your clinical research career. So I would definitely keep that in mind. And, especially if you're on the project management side, you're gonna be working with clients from all over the world. So I know in Japan, it's always a big deal because they're really serious. So you have to be really serious. You have to understand that, understand how they work. And, you've kind of got to adapt yourself and be flexible to that. So that's going to be interesting. And I would definitely, keep that in mind when you're working in clinical research, or you're looking to get into clinical research. So just to summarize, don't discount an opportunity. Don't be too picky about which studies you're on at first, and don't assume everyone is like you. So those are my 3 things that you should not do in clinical research. If you love this video, guys, like it, share it, hit that subscribe button as always, hit the bell right next to it to become part of the notification squad. You can always email us at eliteclinicalgroup@gmail.com. We love hearing from you guys. Email us there for any inquiries, etc., etc. And that's it for today, guys. Take care.